Good morning, boys and girls. All right, so now we're going to go over the main idea and plot points, or the plot mountain, with you for the story Rufferella. So, usually most stories start here, kind of reviewing what the setting is, who the characters are, and kind of what the situation is. What's the problem? What's the concern? What's the happening that's going to make the story interesting? So I thought in this setting, a girl's house, it's a girl's house. That's where it starts off. And the characters are, oh, and we should make this a dog named Ruff, right? A dog named Ruff. We need to know that. And a girl named Diamante. Okay. And the situation, what's the situation? Diamante wants to be a fairy godmother, just like in her favorite book, Cinderella. So that's kind of like the beginning, the intro of the story, getting the characters and the setting and the situation. Next part in a plot of a story is something called like the rising action. And with rising action, things start happening in the story that engages you and you find interesting. And in this story, kind of step one of the rising action is Diamante decides to play fairy godmother to Ruff, her dog, and teaches Ruff how to be human. So in Cinderella, Cinderella was taught kind of how to be a princess. Her dog, Rufferella, is going to be taught how to be human. Then the next step in this exciting story is Rising Action 2. Ruff, the dog, becomes Rufferella and learns how to follow all the human ways or etiquette. And really, we should maybe add here, Rufferella really knows how to sing and has a unique voice, right? So we find out Raffaella, as a human, has a unique voice. Well, what happens next? Raffaella learns human etiquette, then shows that she can sing. Well, Rufferella sings so well, she goes on TV, and then the Queen invites her to dinner. That is exciting. What's going to happen? Okay, so what have we gone over? We have the setting, usually is what the story begins with, along with the characters and the introduction of the characters and the problem. And then it starts, things happen with the rising action. There's got to be at least 3 steps: rising action 1, 2, and 3. And then this is the one you really need to know, and every writer needs to make this so exciting. It's called the climax. And the climax is the critical part of the book, when the problem or the situation that began hits a critical point and the character has to make a decision about what's going to happen. Maybe if it's a superhero, they have to defeat the villain. Maybe if it's a love story, people fall in love. Maybe if it's I don't know, a mystery. They figure out who the murderer is. It's the climax. It's the most important part. Well, the climax of this story, when Rufferella is at dinner with the Queen, sausages are served, and Rufferella goes wild. She jumped on the table. She ate everyone's sausages and made a mess. And guess what? Everybody finds out Rufferella is a dog. Oh boy. So that's the climax. And after the climax is something that's called falling action, meaning you've been to the top of the mountain with the climax. Now you're coming down. It's still exciting, but there's not as exciting as the climax, and things need to yet be decided. And the falling action in this story is Diamante and Rufferella ran home and felt miserable, but then received a note from the Queen that said Rufferella should be herself. And the Queen gave Rufferella a dog bowl, meaning Rufferella should go back to being a dog. And the Queen says, because we're usually do the best things when we're being ourselves. All right. So then we have the resolution. That's kind of like the ending of the problem. How is the problem solved? Well, remember our situation and climax? Diamante wanted to be a fairy godmother. So she makes her dog, Rufferella, and turns her into a person. That does not work out well. And it's not really a person, just acting like a person. And the resolution is Diamante and Ruff decided it's so much better to just be themselves, and Rufferella gives up being human, or trying to be human, right? So that's the resolution. Now, most of the time, authors have a main idea or a theme. What do you think the main idea of this story is? Well, I thought the main idea or theme was we are so much better when we are ourselves and not pretending to be someone or something else. We are so much better when we are just ourselves and not pretending to be someone or something else. All right. Well, you are going to go over all these parts for the classic Cinderella. And I want to write up, much like you saw here, much like we talked about here. And in your write up, you're going to be saying all these parts, the setting, the rising action parts. Give me 3 details. The climax, what's happening in the climax, then what was the falling action, then how was the story resolved, and finally, what's the main idea. So you'll be covering all those parts. Get your assignment. Thanks, guys.